जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम राम हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल। जय प्रभुपाद 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 प्रभुपाद। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये। नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमा श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्ठकी। Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 12, Chapter 6, text number 2. Rajovacha Siddhosmyanugrihitosmi Bhavata Karunatmana Shravito Yacchame Sakshat Anadi Nidhano Harihi. Rajovacha Siddhosmi Anugrihitosmi Bhavata Karunatmana Shravito Yacchame Sakshat Anadhi Nidano Harihi. Rajovacha Siddhosmi Anigrihitosmi Bhavata Karunatmana Shravito Yacchame Sakshat Anadi Nidhano Harihi. Raja Uvacha, King Parikshit said, Siddhaha, fully successful. Asmi, I am. Anugrihitaha, shown great mercy. Asmi, I am. Bhavata, by your good self. Karunatmana, who are full of mercy. Shravitaha, has been described orally. Yad, because. Cho, and. Me, to me. Sakshat, directly. Anadi, who has no beginning. Nidhanaha, or end. Harihi, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Translation. Maharaj Parikshit said, I have now achieved the purpose of my life because a great and merciful soul like you has shown such kindness to me. You have personally spoken to me this narration of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari, who is without beginning or end. So, It has no purport. I am going to read till verse 6, which has a purport. Natyadbhutam aham manye mahatam achyutatmanam agneshu tapatapteshu bhuteshu yadanugrahah. I do not consider it at all amazing that great souls such as yourself, whose minds are always absorbed in the infallible personality of Godhead, show mercy to the foolish conditioned souls tormented as we are by the problems of material life. Purana samhitam metam ashraushma bhavato vayam yasyam khalu tamah shloko bhavan anuvarnayate. I have heard from you this Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the perfect summary of all the Purans and which perfectly describes the Supreme Lord Uttama Shloka. Bhagavam stakshakadibhyo mrityubhyo na vibhemyaham pravishto brahma nirvanam abhayam darshitam tvaya. O my Lord, I have now no fear of Takshak or any other living being or even of repeated deaths, because I have absorbed myself in that purely spiritual absolute truth which you have revealed and which destroys all fear. Anujanihi ma brahman vacham yajachamya dokshaje muktakamashayam chetaha praveshya vistrajamya sun. O Brahman, please give me permission to resign my speech and the functions of all my senses unto Lord Adhokshaj. Allow me to absorb my mind, purified of lusty desires, within him and to thus give up my life. Purport. Shukdev Goswami asked King Parikshit, what more do you wish to hear? Now the king replies that he has perfectly understood the message of Srimad Bhagavatam and that he is ready without further discussion to go back home, back to Godhead. Om Adnyanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshun Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutali Swayam Rupakada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guraha Shri Uttapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagarajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bevacha Patidanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So, the chapter is entitled Maharaj Parikshit Passes Away. Maharaj Parikshit said, I have now achieved the purpose of my life because a great and merciful soul like you has shown such kindness to me. You have personally spoken to me this narration of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari, who is without beginning or end. So, Hari Ananta, Hari Katha Ananta. The Lord is eternal and His pastimes and descriptions of His wonderful glories are also eternal. Many speakers have come and gone. Many listeners have come and gone. But the descriptions of the holy names will continue. So this very great listener, Maharaj Parikshit, has successfully completed the mission of his life, which is to purify one's existence, due to which he can put an end to the repetition of the cycle of birth and death by the process of hearing. And the process is so simple. Prabhupada said that it is so simple that we may miss it. Sometimes we miss out on simple things. And but even though it is simple, it doesn't mean that it is not powerful. Just as the basis of a computer is a very simple concept of logic of zeros and ones and binary numbers, and there are so many number systems, hexadecimal, decimal systems, so many systems which can be used in computers, but it is binary numbers, just 0 and 1. But the end result of such a simple operation is so amazing. And many times we may, or generally people tend to overlook and neglect this very important activity of hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. Tad vijnanartham sa gurum eva vigachet samit panihi shrotriyam brahmanishtham. One has to approach a bona fide spiritual master. Tad vijnanartham. So gurum eva vigachet. So approach a guru. And that guru should be brahmanishtha. Very fortunate that Parikshit got the personal association of Shukdev Goswami, who is none other than the eternal associate of Srimati Radharani, personally trained by Srimati Radharani in all the intimate pastimes of Braj, due to which he is able to recite, because his audience is not an ordinary person. When the audience is very advanced, then even the speaker has to up his standard. Like most of the lectures which I give, I barely prepare, I just, wing it. But when it is the temple's Bhagavatam class, at least I look over, the verses. Because obviously the people who are sitting to listen are not, simple people. So if there is a disciple like Parikshit, then there has to be a speaker like Shukdev. And so he's saying here that that is the importance. And just recently, about a few days ago, one congregation called me saying that I want to donate some grains for the temple and things like that, and saying, all right, fine. So then I came and dropped it. And after a few days, again she called up and she said, the grains I donated to the temple was for my mother-in-law, and she's passing now. There's no hope, and I just wanted to ask you, Prabhuji, is there anything that we can do for such a person who's like about to pass? And surprisingly, I was also thinking, क्या कर सकते हैं? कुछ होमा कर सकते हैं, कुछ special puja कर सकते हैं, and something like that. I was thinking, I wanted to do justice to thing. Not such an expert in these formalities and things, so I called up the Prem Kishore Prabhu and asked him, what do you generally do for such, who are about to pass? And really, after a discussion and all, what came out was nothing. And then I realized, Parikshit Maharaj is also passing away. And what did he do? Just hear Srimad Bhagavatam. And I was, it struck me that how it escapes us. We may think it is so simple. Kya bole? Achha, what to do if a person is passing? You say, just read Srimad Bhagavatam. That's all. और कुछ नहीं, कुछ स्पेशल मंत्र वंत्र तंत्र समथिंग पूजा offering flowers, big charity donation, nothing. Just simply read Srimad Bhagavatam to that person. That's as simple as that. And then it struck me, yes, it is so simple that we tend to overlook. And especially for a person who's condemned to die in a very short period of time. When people are diagnosed with terminal illnesses, diagnosed with something, maybe cancer or something like that, and when the news is broken to them, they undergo psychological stages. When you say that you're going to die, say in 6 months, and something like that, then the first reaction of such a person is denial. The reaction is very calm. There's hardly any, in fact, he may even joke about it. Because the information is so heavy that you're going to die. That's why, there's a saying that once there was a discussion between life and death. Death is asking life. Why is it that, we both are a part of existence? Dying is nothing but a part of living. It's not living is not complete if you don't die. How will you know life if you have not taken birth and if you're not going to die? So why do people love you so much? And why do people fear me so much? So then the life told death, that is because you are the bitter truth and I am a sweet lie. Why is life called a lie? Because, it is temporary and nobody wants to discuss it. That's why it's a lie. Asat, what is life? Asat. Why do we say that life is a lie? Because it is asat, it is temporary. And even though we all know this fact, we know life we are all mortal, but nobody wants to discuss it, nobody wants to. In fact, these subject matters are considered very dark and depressing. Hey, Prabhuji, like once I was invited to one very wealthy family's home for a talk, and I asked her this, when I went there, I asked her, what should I speak on? Because I generally like to speak what is the need, and I am not very good at understanding, especially when you meet someone for the first time, you do not know which background, what do they want to hear. So I asked them, किसके ऊपर मैं बोलूं? प्रभु जी अच्छी अच्छी बातें बोलना, ये मरने मरने की बात मत करना. And they were, even though big house, but they were not happy. I could see that. A lot of problems. And obviously, life is not about, we don't discuss whole time, we're discussing death and morbid talks. No, it's for a solution. Now, why we discuss it? It inspires us. Fear is a big motivation. Fear is a big motivation. Out of all the different kind of motivations, fear is one major aspect. And Parikshit Maharaj also says, in that first canto, Tasaiva meghasya paravaresho vyasakta chittasya grihesha bhikshanam nirvedo moolam dvijashaparupo yatra prasakto bhayam ashudatte. Bhayam ashudatte. That it was fear only which is now motivating me to take up to the path of purification. It is an arrangement of the Lord that I had to get this curse which will manifest in the form of this, the bite of this takshak. It is indeed the arrangement of the Lord. And we see that now the time has come, he has done his duty of hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. So fear is a very, very, very critical thing. And it brings you to Krishna. Therefore it is called as Bhaya Yoga. Karma connects you to Krishna, then it becomes Karma Yoga, Gyan Yoga, Ashtanga, then Ashtanga Yoga, so Bhaya Yoga. Therefore, in the 7th canto, that verse is there where it is said, Keet Peshas Krita Ruddha Kudyayam Tam Anusmaram Samramba Bhaya Yogena Vindate Tat Swarupatam. Keet Peshas Krita Ruddha. Just as a grass worm is held captive in a hole in the wall by the bee, and he's constantly meditating on the bee out of fear. Samramba Bhaya Yogena. And because fear is so encompassing that because of intense meditation on its captor, that Kita, the grass worm, becomes a bee in his next life. Fear is such an emotion, it completely engulfs you. So therefore, when a person is diagnosed with a terminal illness, the first thing is, it comes like a shock that he's not able to accept it, and he shows no emotion. But then gradually when it starts sinking in, he starts feeling sad, and he becomes depressed, and he starts becoming even frustrated and angry, and he starts thinking, this is injustice, I have done nothing to deserve this. Why me? There are so many people. Why just... And then he thinks, is there a solution? Okay, then he tries other alternatives, goes to doctors, sees tantrics and mantras and alternative medicines. And then finally, the last stage is acceptance. When he knows that nothing can be done. then what comes is acceptance. Chalo, theek. And in the study of psychology, researchers have concluded that the greatest challenge for people who are so diagnosed is to what to do with the remainder of their time. How to spend those excruciating periods when you know you're going to die and you do not know how to find a solution. And that's why it is said here, it is all about the allocation of your consciousness. You can't just be thinking about, I'm going to die, I'm going to die, I'm going to die. It makes you crazy. Even before death, why do people fear death? It is not people fear death. What people actually fear is suffering, which comes from death. Is it not? Because if it were true, then why would these German soldiers, and I heard that even Hitler, he would always, and even all of his leaders in high command, senior in the ranks, they would all carry a cyanide pill with them. That just in case that they are captured by the coalition forces, then they would pop that pill into their mouth and bite into it, and they pass away without suffering. Because if they are captured alive, they know. That's why Hitler, we know that he took a pill, cyanide, and he was not sure that whether it will kill him, because he was so paranoid that he felt that who knows, they have duped me and they have not given me the real poison. It may not be cyanide, I may not die. So he fed the poison to his dog, his favorite dog. Killed the dog, okay, it works. Then he gave it to his wife, killed his wife. Then he ate it himself. And then he was still not sure whether I will die. So he took the gun and shot himself. And then also he had instructed the soldiers that you burn my body because I don't want my body to be humiliated, just as Mussolini, you see. He was also partnered with him and they humiliated him, hung him upside down. So all these things, why he was doing is because he was afraid of suffering. And all of us, we are afraid of suffering. And we hear that death is like 60,000 scorpions biting at the same time. That is the pain that is associated with. I'm sorry, it may sound morbid and dark, these discussions, but it is only because of the subject matter under discussion I am discussing. Otherwise, I have no personal preference in discussing these things. I like to discuss pertinent to the subject matter in the Bhagavatam. So people fear suffering. That's why sometimes life becomes more painful. That's why people commit suicide. And they hear all this 60,000 scorpions biting. No one can think 60,000 scorpions biting. But how does it feel to be bitten by a scorpion? How many of us have been bitten by scorpions? Only one. So that means if you want to know how it is to, then you'll have to be bitten by a scorpion, is it? No one knows. I have been bitten by a scorpion, by the way. So I was going from my college from the tea stall to the lodge, to my hostel, and it was dark. It was around 8 o'clock in the night, and I was crossing, and I was bitten by I didn't know what bit me, and it was so painful. It was so excruciatingly painful. I was screaming on the top of my voice. Some other people were there. I was alone. Some people, they carried me like this, and they took me to the hospital. And coincidentally, at the same time, there was another person who was admitted in the hospital from a medical college. He was also, I think it was a girl who was bitten, and the experience was different. The symptoms were different. I was screaming, and she was okay. She was like not much in pain. I was thinking, what is this? And we did not know what it was. It was a snake bite or it was a scorpion bite in the dark, who knows. So anyway, anti-venom and everything was injected. And, and I'm screaming, and it was like a hot rod being shoved into your leg from the feet. So painful. I can actually vouch for it. I've experienced it. It's so painful. But again, the symptoms of a scorpion bite is different for different people. So how do you know? And that multiplied by 60,000, sorry. 60,000. How do you know? And then Takshak is like a snake, he's not a scorpion. So when you are bitten by a snake, then you get the pain of scorpion bite. How does it go? So really, no one really knows actually, in a sense. But if you, and you know how many people die of snake bites throughout the world? About 80,000 to 140,000 people they die because of snake bites. More than that, actually, around how much? Around 15 lakhs of people are bitten by snakes. Not all of them die. But here, Parikshit is sure he's going to die. He's absolutely sure he's going to die. And he's absolutely sure that he's going to live also for 7 days. Because along with that curse that you're going to die came the blessing that you're going to live for 7 days. And generally people don't know whether they are going to live for the next 7 moments, 7 minutes, 7 hours, 7 days. So along with that blessing, along with the curse came the blessing. So many people are dying. And today, life has changed. In the age of Kali Yuga, people are not really concerned about snake bites anymore, even though so many people are dying. Now, somebody sent me one message. I think my mother sent me a message saying that, गुजर रहे हैं हम आज इस दौर से, गुजर रहे हैं हम आज उस दौर से, लोग छोड़ रहे हैं साथ केवल जुखाम से, गुजर रहे हैं हम आज उस मकाम से, लोग साथ छोड़ रहे हैं केवल एक जुखाम से. Snake bite may not be such a big thing, but then there are other issues, in the wake of this pandemic and other terminal illnesses. People are afraid. But actually, death is very subjective, as the scriptures describe. It is very subjective. And it is not painful for a yogi, or it is not painful for a devotee. Because, as it is explained, just as a crocodile, the jaw of a crocodile, it's said that it is so powerful that when it grabs on even to the feet of an elephant, it holds on like a vice. The bite force of a crocodile is so enormous, it never lets go, and it can crush even the feet of a young elephant. But still, when that crocodile carries its young ones in its mouth, it's very gentle. It's very gentle. And the crocodile young ones, they feel a very motherly affection. Similarly, death is the same. But it is perceived differently by different people. That's why some people say, ये क्या है? अरे तुम लोग भी भक्ति करते हो, हम लोग भक्ति नहीं करते, तुम लोग भक्ति करते हो, but मरना तो तुमको भी है ना. You all also have to die. We also have to die. So why to do bhakti? So people say to Prabhupada, what if you realize at the end of this life, all these austerities you all are doing, Ekadashi, don't eat meat, don't have illicit sex, no gambling, no intoxication, what is there in your life? Nothing. No enjoyment, dry, boring life. You all have not lived. And at the end of life, you die, you realize that there is no Krishna, there is no... What happened? And Prabhupada said, well, what in the end you realize that, okay, fine, even if you think that there is no Krishna, you think we are suffering, but we are not. We are very happy. We live a very wonderful life. We are very happy, peaceful, satisfied. We live amongst very wonderful people. We eat very good food, even though it's vegetarian, very delicious. So don't think that we are miserable. It may appear from that side. Everyone thinks the other person is miserable. I am very happy this person is suffering so much. I still remember. My first book, Gita, which I purchased, was out of pity for a devotee. Pity, because I was standing at a bus stop and it was so hot. It was summertime, and one devotee was doing book marathon in the bus stop. He was brahmachari, shaven-headed, and in the hot sun he was sitting, Gita, 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 Gita. And I looked at him and I felt, just see how he must be going through. He looks like a decent person. Why is he doing this? What is motivating him to do this? Let me encourage him, And I wanted a Gita, naturally. So I said, all right, what's the price of the Gita? And I was so shocked to see that it's so cheap. 67, 70 rupees. Nice Gita, well bound and everything. I said, wow, and please give me. And I took 2 books, 3 books, and I just wanted to see the smile on his face, And I think just because of that Sukriti, somehow, it has got some appreciation to read Srimad Bhagavad Gita, which I was interested, of course, to understand also. But you see that the fear is of the unknown. The fear is of the suffering, because we really don't know. And therefore when people accuse and say, Arey, what is this? Prabhupada said that we have a very good life, and at the end, if we realize that Krishna is not there, no problems. At least we can see that Parikshit Maharaj is completely free from all fear. Good passing, no problem. But now what if you realize that there is a God at the end of life? Your life is miserable. Misery is the word, and you can look outside anywhere. To those who are not Krishna conscious, hell. And therefore, a very important observation that the Shastras make is that it depends on one's practice of yoga. How well one has, as they say that the more you bleed during practice, the less you will bleed in war. What is that? Is that correct? The more you sweat during practice, the less you will bleed during war. So it's a matter of, death is a very subjective experience, experienced differently by different people. And so how do we practice, and what is the one thing that you go for when something like this happens? How do we escape this calamity? So many people, I always like to say this, I've said it many times before, anecdote. People have different kinds of solutions. Like once one guy was at home and somebody knocked on the door in the middle of the night. He opens the door and he sees Yamdut standing there. He says, Arey? He looked at him, he thought he's from some drama party. He says, are you from drama party? He says, no, I'm actually Yamdut. Shows his identity card also. He says, oh my God. So he thought, and he showed, look, your time is up. Showed him the list. Your long list of people who he has come to claim, lives he has come to claim. And he saw thousands and thousands of names, and he saw his name also on the top. So he thought, now what to do? How to escape? So he said, all right, please, you're doing so much of seva, you're moving around, doing all this work. You must be tired. Please come inside. Let me get an opportunity to serve you. What will you have? Tea, coffee, doodh? So anyway, he brings him in. Okay, okay, give me 1 glass of milk. I don't drink tea. We are Vaishnavas. So he then sat, made him sit, and he went inside and he's thinking what to do, how to escape death. I've got a very short time to live. So he thinks of a plan. So he goes into the kitchen. He had some sleeping pills. So he looked at this Yamdut. He was a very big, stout man. So he thought maybe extra dose will be needed. So he takes about 10, 12 tablets of sleeping pills, puts it in the milk and offers him, PJs, aap itna seva kar rahe hain. He drinks and he's knocked out. Half an hour he's knocked out. In the meanwhile, he takes that slip from his pocket and he cuts his name from the top and writes it at the end, folds it and puts it back into his pocket. This person wakes up after half an hour and he says, अरे कितना fresh लग रहा है, वाह वाह, बहुत सदियों से ऐसा नींद नहीं लिया मैंने, बहुत प्रसन्न हूं आपसे, बहुत प्रसन्न हूं, चलो तुम पर एक कृपा कर देता हूं, हमेशा से मैं ये सूची ऊपर से पढ़ते आ रहा हूं, आज तुम्हारे लिए हम नीचे से पढ़ना आरंभ करेंगे. So I do not consider it at all amazing that great souls such as yourself, whose minds are always absorbed in the infallible personality of Godhead, show mercy to the foolish conditioned souls tormented as we are by the problems of material life. So it is very natural that it is the mercy of great souls who go around and distribute the holy names, distribute the message of Srimad Bhagavatam. But actually, as it is explained here, that Parikshit Maharaj, he himself says that I was motivated by fear, but here it is explained in the previous verse that bowing his head down upon the sage's feet, the king who had lived his entire life under the protection of Lord Vishnu, folded his hands in supplication and spoke as follows. He is a great soul. He is not motivated by fear. In fact, he is a Kshatriya. For a Kshatriya to be fearful is a disgrace. They are courageous people. Very courageous. They are willing to lay down their lives for justice. So how can an ordinary snake, and he had the power to counteract this curse also. He was not. Now what is it that he was motivated by? He was motivated by inspiration. It is the Lord's arrangement to show not just the art of living, but the art of leaving. And this is the true art of living. And the efficacy of the process of Shravanam. He heard Srimad Bhagavatam. He is not an ordinary soul, he is the grandson of Arjuna. And had he not been bewildered in this way by the Lord, just as Arjuna, if he would not have been bewildered and deluded by the Lord's energies, we would have not got Bhagavad Gita. And had it not been for the Lord's mercy and grace that Parikshit would have been illusioned, we would have not got Srimad Bhagavatam. Grandfather and grandson, this family is so great. The Pandavas, that family, lineage is so great. The Lord has personally made them the instrument to disseminate the two most important scriptures in humanity, the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. And therefore, to allocate one's consciousness, you can't be thinking about the miseries of life again and again. Oh, I'm going to. You have to allocate. Where do you allocate that consciousness? Into the topics of Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam. That's why it is said in one of the verses, it is said, Danam swadharmo niyamo yamascha shrutam cha karmani cha sadvratani सर्वे मनो निग्रह लक्षणांतः परो हि योगो मनसः समाधि. दानम स्वधर्मो नियमो यमश्च श्रुतम च कर्माणि च सद्व्रतानि. Whatever you are doing, either you are doing charity, you are doing your swadharma properly, taking care of your wife, your children very wonderfully. Niyamo, yamascha, you are following all the rules meticulously, small and big ones. Shrutam, and you are doing your hearing, swadhyay very nicely. Cha karmani, and you are doing all other activities. Cha sadvratani, and whatever sankalpa you have made, the vows you are following, ekadashis and everything. What is it all meant for? Sarve mano nigraha lakshanantaha. Everything is for fixing your mind on Krishna. For disciplining the mind. Nigraha. Mano nigraha. Parohi yogo manasaha samadhi. And that is a supreme yoga which gets you to fix your mind completely on Krishna. Every time when during Darshanarati, when devotees would be distributing these flowers for offering to the Lord, sometimes a thought comes into my mind, "Arey, ye phool to maine nahi kharida. I did not get this flower." It would be nice if you spend some money and get a flower and offering and you offer it to Krishna. So every time I feel, why should I offer flowers? I didn't bring them. I don't have the capacity to bring them. And sometimes I avoid sometimes to offer the flowers. Sometimes I feel, okay, I just did the dressing of the Lord, I will not offer flowers. I already offered it inside. But then I was just thinking and contemplating the other time that, okay, now I'm just standing there and maybe taking darshan or doing something else or checking my phone or something like that. Well, what am I doing? Even though you're offered, there's always an opportunity to offer it again. Because even though you have not purchased the flower, but during that time when you are, doing that gesture and you're looking towards the deities and you're chanting the mantras, Aim Guruve Namah, Om Param Guruve Namah, Klim Devi Janama Balabhaya Namah, Om Klim Gauraya Namah, and all those kind of things, is what are you doing? Is you're fixing your mind, at least for that time, for that, very few seconds that you have made that offering, your mind is fixed on Krishna. So why lose that opportunity? So therefore, here, I have heard from you Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the perfect summary of all the Puranas, which perfectly describes the Supreme Lord Uttama Shloka. My Lord, I now have no fear of Takshak or any other living being or even of repeated deaths, because I have absorbed myself in that purely spiritual absolute truth, which you have revealed and which destroys all fear. Now, how do you become free from fear just like that? What is it that makes the devotee fearless? What is that change that takes place in the attitude? Obviously, it is a change. It's not the, your altitude is defined by your attitude, as they say. What is it? There's a nice story. Once a couple was newly married. And the man was working in the defense forces. And they decided to he was in the naval forces, and for honeymoon, the husband and wife decided that they will go in their defense ship. They will go on a cruise on that ship. And both were there, and unfortunately, on that journey, they were caught by a heavy storm. Tremendous storm, unfortunate incident. And the ship was being tossed up and down and havoc. And that woman was freaking out, literally. She was freaking, and she was looking. Both were standing there and looking out, and to the sea it was dark and up and down. And the wife was, and she looked at the husband. The husband is very peaceful. She said, "How can you be so peaceful? How is it that you can be peaceful? Explain to me." To the girl's surprise, what the husband did, the husband had a gun. He was in his uniform. He had a gun. He took out his gun, put it on his wife's head, and cocked it. And the wife is looking. What is he doing? And then he says, "Now are you afraid? I will shoot you." He says, "Obviously not. Why should I be afraid of you?" "Why? Because I trust you. You will not shoot me." And he puts it back into just like that. I am a believer of God. I have trust, even though He may be putting me through all these different dangerous situations. But in the end, in the end, He is there for me. Even if we have to die, all right, maybe our ship will sink, who knows, but still He will be there at the end to hold me because I've led an honest life along God's principles, so there's nothing to fear. So it is that trust on the protection of the Lord which awards this fearlessness, which comes by diligent practice of yoga and living by the instructions of Guru and Sadhu and Shastra. He says, "O Brahman, please give me the permission to resign my speech and the functions of all my senses unto Lord Adokshaj. Allow me to absorb my mind, purified of lusty desires within him, and to thus give up my life." So now, Parikshit Maharaj is all set to now prepare for his departure. And therefore, the very important message is to take up to this very simple process, even though it may be, devotees are often criticized. Arey, tum bhi maroge, hum bhi maroge. Okay, never mind. Parikshit, as here the example is that Parikshit passes away. The Lord protected him. He would have died in his womb, but he was protected by the Lord. But here the Lord decides not to protect him. So really one has to redefine the conception of what really is protection. And the Lord's protection comes in ways we may not understand. We may see protection means protecting this body. But the Srimad Bhagavatam explains, Parikshit Maharaj passes away. That means even a devotee will pass away. You can't stop that. You're a non-devotee, you will die. You are a devotee, you will die. But what is the difference? Devotee, once he passes, he does not come back. He attains mukti, liberation. That is the message. So we have to learn to recognize the Lord's mercy in whatever way it comes. And now death is not in our hands. We can't control death. But what we can control is how we face death, how we prepare ourselves for death. And that is to take up to this process. And okay, people criticize us and saying that ye kya hai bhakti, like Mahaprabhu, even though he was chanting Hare Krishna, those great Vedic scholars, Mayavadi scholars were criticizing Mahaprabhu, saying that why are you dancing and jumping like a madman, like a sentimental? You should read Vedanta. But Mahaprabhu just continued. Doesn't really matter what these people say. Emphasize the importance of this process. Mahaprabhu personally demonstrated. That's why, what is this? Rupa Goswami, he says, Mugdham mam nigadantu niti nipuna bhrantam muhur vaidikaha. Mandam bandhava sanchaya jadadhiyam muktadara sodara. Unmattam dhanino viveka chaturaha kamam mahadambhikam. Moktum nashamate managapi mano govinda padaspriya. Mugdham mam nigadantu niti nipuna. So all those very big moralists, aisa hona chahiye, very big moralists, they may accuse me saying that I am mugdham, I am misguided. Niti nipuna, bhrantam muhur vaidikaha. And the Vedic scholars, as Mahaprabhu was criticized, this person is misled. And mandham bandhava sanchaya, and the relatives, they are criticizing a devotee for being foolish, manda. Jadadhyam, less intelligent. Muktadaraha sodaraha, and the brothers are thinking, he has no respect. No respect for the family, brother, sister, family, no duties, doesn't have anything to perform. Muktadaraha sodaraha. Unmattam, dhanino, and the rich people who have made a lot of money and very well established in the society are thinking, Is he too proud or what? Unmattam dhanino viveka chaturaha, and the very intelligent politician kind of people are thinking, "Hey, he's a very rude person. He's so proud. What is he trying to show off? How great he is." Viveka chatura. Kamam mahadambhikam. Moktum nashamate managapi. But I cannot give up the service of the lotus feet of the Lord. I cannot give up to the process of hearing. I cannot give up the process of chanting Hare Krishna. Nashamate managapi mano govinda padaspriham. So, that way Parikshit Maharaj, even though a great king, the emperor of the world, has been reduced. As they say, death is an equalizer. Whether you are big, the emperor of the world is sitting now down at the feet of this great sage, on the ground without anything, literally naked. That king who was adorned in great jewels, diamonds, and great control and charge of everything in this world is now reduced to a simple mendicant. That's why it is said that this world is life is like a game of chess. You play the chess, and after some Raja, Queen, and the king, and everything, pawns, soldiers, elephants, castle. And at the end of the game, everything puts in the box. Everything goes in the box. Whether Raja ho, soldier, all one position. So that is one place we all have to go. And how we go, that is the art of leaving. And the best way to leave is to chant always, as Srila Prabhupada said, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Gaur Premanande, Hare Hare Bol.